Do you ever feel like no matter what you do, the fat just won't come off? The truth is, it's probably not because you're eating too much food. In fact, you can be in calorie deficit and still not able to burn fat. That's because fat loss isn't just about the quantity of the food you eat, it's about the quality of the food that you eat. Once you know which foods to buy at the grocery store and which ones to leave on the shelf, fat loss finally starts to happen. So in this video, I'm going to show you which foods to stop eating, which ones to buy instead, and how to use ingredient labels to tell the difference. And as a bonus, I'm going to give you a free tool that you can use to do this yourself. Now, before we get into foods themselves, we need to talk about the real secret to fat loss. When you walk into a grocery store, most of the foods on the shelves are lying to you. On the front of the package, you see words like healthy, natural, low fat, heart healthy, zero sugar. Those words are designed to lure you in to a false sense of security. They make you think you're buying something that's actually good for you, but the truth is that's just marketing. If you want to know whether a food is actually helping or hurting you, you have to flip it over. You have to look at the ingredient list on the back because the ingredients don't lie. Companies are legally required to list what's actually in the food, and they have to list it in order of quantity. Once you learn how to read that list, you can stop guessing what's good for you and what's not. The problem is there are over 11,000 different food ingredients. Most people have no idea what half of them mean. And if you don't understand the ingredients, it's very easy to end up buying foods that you think are helping you lose weight, when in reality, they're pushing your body straight into fat storage mode. That's why I did the hard work for you. I went through all 11,000 of those ingredients. I figured out which ones work against your body and which ones actually support fat loss. I built all of them into one simple app that anyone can use free of charge. Once you download it, you can walk into the store, pick up anything off the shelf, scan it, and immediately know whether or not it will help you meet your goals. So as we go through the store, I'll use it to show you in real time which foods make fat loss harder and which ones support fat burning, and exactly how to spot the difference. Now, the first food I want to start with is oils, and there are two reasons for that. First, oils usually have a very simple ingredient list that makes them a good place to show how the scanner works. Second, oils show up in a lot of other foods that we're going to look at next. So let's start with one of the most problematic oils in the food supply. This is soybean oil. If we scan it, you'll see it comes up as not approved. That means it works against your body's ability to heal. It works against your liver, and it works against your ability to lose fat. However, despite the fact that soybean oil is still the most consumed oil in the United States, it accounts for more than 50% of all domestic vegetable oil use, and it's not just something people cook with. It's hidden in almost everything: baked goods, crackers, chips, snack foods, salad dressings, condiments. So even if you've never bought a bottle of soybean oil in your life, there's a very good chance that you're eating it every single day. Now, here's why it's so bad for you. Soybean oil is not a natural food. It has to be industrially manufactured. Chemical solvents are used to extract it. Then it's bleached, then it's deodorized. By the time it reaches your plate, it's highly unstable and it's easily oxidized. So when you go to eat, your body doesn't recognize it as food. And when your body doesn't know what to do with something, it does the only thing it can do. It stores it as fat. Another major issue is linoleic acid. Soybean oil is over 50% linoleic acid. In small amounts, linoleic acid is fine. But today, the average American is getting up to 10 times more than the body was designed to handle. And that excess does not disappear. It gets stored in your fat tissue. And once it's stored there, it does not come out quickly. In fact, it can take your body years to fully clear it out. This is one of the biggest reasons people say, I cleaned up my diet, I'm eating better, but the fat just won't come off. They're still dealing with the backlog. So for me, this goes right back on the shelf. Unfortunately, it's not just soybean oil. You'll see the same problem all over the store. Canola oil, corn oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, cottonseed oil, anything labeled vegetable oil, different names, same problems. They're all industrially processed and they're extremely high in linoleic acid. So let's look for a better option. This is extra virgin olive oil. It's far more stable and much lower in linoleic acid. And when you scan it, sure enough, it comes up as challenge approved. That means you can use it even if you're actively healing your body and losing fat. Now, here's the key difference between this and seed oils. Extra virgin olive oil is made using cold press processes. No chemicals, no solvents, no bleaching, no deodorizing. You apply pressure and out comes the oil. That's it, which means it's a real food, one that your body actually recognizes and knows how to use. On top of that, extra virgin olive oil is also high in oleic acid. Oleic acid helps build flexible, functional cell membranes. And when cell membranes work properly, insulin works better, inflammation drops, and fat can finally be released. I actually did a whole video on the fat burning power of extra virgin olive oil. I'll include a link to it in the description below if you're interested. Now, in addition to olive oil, there are other oils that do well too. You just have to know what you're looking for. Avocado oil is a great option. It has a very high smoke point, it's low in linoleic acid, and it's rich in oleic acid, the same fat that supports flexible, healthy cell membranes. That means you can cook with it without oxidizing it and without creating inflammatory byproducts. Coconut oil is another solid option. It's also extremely low in linoleic acid and very stable under high heats. It's made up largely of medium chain fats, which are burned quickly for energy instead of being stored. So instead of burdening your liver, it actually gives your body a clean fuel source. And when you scan both of these, the scanner signs off on them. Now, quick tip with olive and avocado. Look for single source. You want them in dark glass bottles, cold pressed, and organic when you can get it. Now, let's look at bread, because this is one of the foods people eat every single day, often without even thinking twice about it. Now, this is white bread. When you scan it, you usually see enriched flour, sometimes added sugar, often a seed oil like soybean or canola. Enriched flour is refined grain. The fiber and nutrients have been stripped out. Then a few synthetic vitamins are added back in. So when you eat it, it digests very quickly. It behaves like sugar in your body. Blood sugar rises fast, insulin follows, and fat burning shuts off. On top of that, many breads use seed oils to keep the loaf soft and extend its shelf life. So now you've got fast digesting starch combined with inflammatory fats. It's a tough combination for your system to handle. So this goes back on the shelf. Now, this is where a lot of people get misled. The front of the package often says whole wheat or multi-grain, which sounds better, but whole wheat does not mean whole grain. In most cases, the wheat has already been ground into flour, even if it started as whole grain. Once it's been ground into powder, your body processes it like a refined starch. When you scan it, you can usually spot this right away. If it says whole wheat flour instead of whole grain wheat, that's a dead giveaway. You might also see enriched flour or wheat flour. That tells you most of this bread is still refined starch without any fiber. Some brands will even add fiber back in after processing, but that's not the same as fiber that's intact inside the grain. So even though the label looks healthier, the way your body processes it is very similar to white bread. This one goes back on the shelf too. Now let's compare that to something like a sprouted grain or seed bread. When you scan this, you'll see sprouted whole grains, not enriched flour. Sprouting starts breaking down the starch naturally while keeping the fiber structure intact. That slows digestion, and it leads to a much steadier blood sugar response. You're still eating carbohydrates, but your body handles them very differently. Now, that doesn't mean you can eat as much bread as you want and still lose weight. In fact, if you're trying to lose weight, this usually isn't where you want to spend your carbs. And the scanner will tell you this. When you scan most sprouted or whole grain breads, you'll notice a yellow check mark next to most ingredients. That means they're lifestyle approved, and lifestyle approved foods are made from clean ingredients. And they're foods you can eat in moderation once your body is healthy. But during the challenge phase, when your goal is active fat loss, even the healthiest bread is something I recommend limiting. All right, next let's look at meats, because this is where a lot of people think they're doing everything right and still can't lose fat. Most people increase protein and then assume that that alone should fix the problem. But protein only helps when the ingredients that come with it aren't working against your body. So when you scan this, one of the first things that you'll usually see is nitrates or nitrites. These are preservatives. They're used to extend the shelf life and maintain the color of so many packaged meats. In the body, they create oxidative stress and they increase inflammation. That immediately gives your liver more detox work to do. And when your liver is busy neutralizing toxins, fat burning takes a back seat. You'll also often see added sugars, sometimes listed directly as sugar or other times hidden as dextrose or corn syrup or cane sugar. On top of that, you'll commonly see ingredients like modified food starch. This is a binder. It's used to hold moisture, improve texture, and replace the fat that was removed during the processing. The problem is modified food starch digests very quickly. It behaves like a refined carbohydrate inside your body. So even though you're eating meat, you're probably getting hidden blood sugar spikes. You may also see other fillers like potato starch, corn starch, rice starch, or even corn maltodextrin. Different names, same issue. So now, instead of just eating protein, you're eating protein plus preservatives plus hidden starch, and your body has to deal with all of that at one time. So this one goes back on the shelf. So now to compare that to something like this. When you scan it, the ingredient list is simple. Chicken raised without antibiotics. No sugars, no preservatives, no binders, no oils. This is where protein actually does what it's supposed to do. It supports muscle, stabilizes blood sugar, and helps you burn fat. But even when the ingredient list is short, quality still matters. Animals raised on poor feed, heavy grains, antibiotics, and chemical exposure store those toxins in their fat and in their tissue. And when you eat them, your liver has to deal with it. That's why I always say you are what you ate. So when possible, buy organic grass-fed beef. Grass-fed animals have a healthier fat profile, lower inflammatory omega-6 content, and fewer toxins stored in their tissue. The same goes for pasture-raised poultry and wild-caught fish. They don't give your liver extra work, so it can focus on detoxing your body and burning fat. Now let's look at dairy, because this is one of the most misunderstood categories in the store. Just like with meat, dairy itself isn't the problem. The issue is what gets removed and what gets added afterwards. And this is where the scanner is really helpful, because it shows you what's safe and what's not. All right, look at this. One of the first things the scanner will often show is reduced fat milk. That's where the problem starts. Fat is what naturally slows digestion and controls insulin. Once they take the fat out, the food stops behaving like yogurt in your body. Now look at what comes next on the ingredient scanner. Sugar. That sugar wasn't there originally. It was added back in to replace the flavor and satiety that disappeared when the fat was removed. So now instead of slow digestion, you've got a quick blood sugar hit. But it doesn't stop there. Another common ingredient you'll see is modified cornstarch. This is a thickener. It's used to rebuild texture after the fat was taken out. And when it gets into your body, it behaves just like a refined car. So now you've got sugar plus fast digesting starch in what's being sold as a protein food. That's a double insulin hit. Then there's natural flavors, which some of them can be fine, but it's not a single ingredient. It can be dozens of compounds, and your liver has to figure out what to do with all of it. And then finally, synthetic vitamins. These are often added back in because the natural nutrients were lost during processing. So when you step back, you look at this ingredient list on flavored yogurt like this, you can see exactly what happened. They removed the fat, added sugar to make it taste good again, added starch to thicken it, added binders to stabilize it, added flavorings to mask it, added colors to sell it, and added synthetic vitamins to replace what was lost. At this point, you're not eating yogurt, you're eating a rebuilt product, one that looks healthy but works against fat loss. So this goes back on the shelf. All right, now let's look at an ingredient list on plain Greek yogurt. When you scan this, the ingredient list is short. One ingredient, pasteurized grade A milk, or just cream, or milk protein concentrate. And oftentimes it'll say, which this one does right on there, contains live cultures. We gotta see that. That's where all the benefits are. Sometimes they add vitamin D3 in as well. But no added sugar, no syrups, no starches, no seed oils, no flavorings. This is real food that hasn't been stripped down and rebuilt. All the fat is still in there, so it doesn't need all those extra ingredients that put stress on your liver. And despite what you've been told for decades, eating healthy fat doesn't make you fat. In fact, it's the opposite. Fat slows digestion, softens the blood sugar response, and helps prevent insulin from spiking. When protein and fat come together like this, you actually feel full and you stay full longer. The live cultures matter too. Greek yogurt is a fermented dairy, which supports gut health and improves digestion. And when digestion works better, insulin signaling works better, which makes fat loss easier everywhere else. So from an ingredient standpoint, this checks out. But here's why the scanner can still read some labels have lifestyle approved and not challenge approved, because even clean dairy still contains some natural milk sugars, not added sugar, but it does have lactose. And during a challenge phase, when the goal is active fat loss and metabolic repair, we're being more strategic with anything that can raise insulin. So dairy isn't inherently a bad food at all. It's just not the tool that I would recommend overusing if you're trying to lose weight. Once your metabolism is healthier and your goals are met, dairy like this can absolutely come back in. Next, let's look at beverages, because this is one of the easiest ways people stall fat loss without even realizing it. Drinks don't fill you up, and they often contain ingredients that make your liver work overtime, stopping fat loss dead in its tracks. And here's a great example, regular soda. And sure enough, when you scan it, it comes up not approved. One common ingredient you'll see is high fructose corn syrup. This is fructose that's been concentrated, refined, and liquefied. There's no fiber, there's nothing slowing it down, and it all hits at once in your system. That's why I see people eating well all day and then drinking this and nothing changes. It doesn't matter what you ate earlier. This is all it takes to keep the fat stuck. Another common ingredient you'll see is phosphoric acid. This is a food additive used to sharpen flavor and extend shelf life, but it's just another artificial ingredient that your liver has to deal with. So even though this is just a drink, your liver is handling concentrated sugar and additives before it can do anything else. This goes back on the shelf. Now, a lot of people switch to diet soda thinking they fixed the problem, but when you scan this, it's still not approved. Instead of sugar, you'll usually see aspartame, sodium saccharin, natural and artificial flavors, preservatives, artificial sweeteners like sucralose. Even though there are no calories, the sweet taste still tells the brain sugar's coming, so the body prepares for it. Insulin signaling ramps up, but then the sugar never arrives. That mismatch keeps appetite and cravings turned on. People end up wanting something sweet later anyway, and they don't know why. On top of that, aspartame breaks down into compounds the body doesn't recognize as food, so the liver still has cleanup to do. And while it's doing that, fat loss waits. So switching to diet didn't remove the issue, it just changed how the liver gets stressed. This goes back on the shelf too. Now this one surprises people. When you scan this, it comes up as lifestyle approved. That's because the ingredient list is clean, it's just juice. But the scanner also points out the high natural sugar content. An 8-ounce glass of juice contains the sugar of several apples, and all of that sugar hits the liver without the fiber that you get from eating the actual fruit. So there's nothing to slow it down. This isn't something you need to avoid entirely, but during fat loss, this much sugar in liquid form makes progress difficult. That's why the scanner recommends moderation and waiting until your goals are met before you enjoy. This one goes back on the shelf. This is one of the most common problems that I see, and people don't even think of it as a beverage. When you scan this, it's clearly not approved. Common ingredients include soybean oil, sugar, mono and diglycerides, carrageenan, sucralose, and flavorings. So you're getting seed oil, sugar, thickeners, and artificial sweeteners, all in one pour. And this usually goes into coffee first thing in the morning. That's when the liver is most sensitive. Coffee by itself can actually help burn fat and help the liver, but adding something like this puts your body into fat storage mode before you've even eaten breakfast. So this goes back too. Now, if you still want something sweet in your coffee, stevia is a great alternative. When you scan it, if it's the right kind, it comes up challenge approved. That's because it's plant-derived. It doesn't raise blood sugar nearly as much as regular sugar, and it doesn't force the liver into sugar processing mode. That doesn't mean you dump it in everything all day long, but used lightly, it doesn't work against your goals. Same thing here with monk fruit. It also comes up challenge approved. Like stevia, it's naturally sweet, has very minimal glycemic impact, and doesn't behave like sugar in the body. Just make sure there's no extra ingredients added. A lot of brands try to hide them in there, but the app will point that out for you. Now, obviously, we didn't cover everything in the store, and that's okay, because it would be difficult to memorize all of this. That's why I built the app. It's completely free on iOS and Android, and it lets you scan barcodes and ingredient lists for those foods that aren't in a barcode scanning database in real time while you shop. So instead of guessing, you can see instantly whether something works with your goals, whether you're in challenge phase, or just living this long-term lifestyle. It also gives you food guidance, workouts, recipes, and everything we teach inside the Livingood lifestyle all in one place. I'll put a link to download it in the description. Use it the next time you're at the store and let it do the thinking for you. Now, if you've been eating or drinking a lot of the foods that we just scanned and wondering why the fat won't come off, you finally have your answers. It's your liver. As long as your liver is overloaded, fat burning stays shut off, no matter how clean you eat, how much you exercise, and how few calories you consume. That's why the next step isn't another diet, it's fixing the liver. So in my next video, I will walk you through my top 6 food hacks to kill liver fat in just 14 days. These are simple foods that help your liver unload what's been blocking fat loss and flip fat burning back on fast. I'll put a link to that video right here. Click to watch it next, and I'll see you there.